Hello and welcome to the I-24 News Desk. I'm Emily Francis with some very tragic news, and the manhunt still underway, continuing for the terrorist who shot and killed a father and son yesterday in the northern West Bank town of Huwara. The IDF and medics said that the shooting occurred at close range inside a car wash around 3 p.m. in the Palestinian town located south of Nablus. The Magen David Adom ambulance service said its medics carried out resuscitation efforts on the father and son after they were hit by the gunfire, but they were both declared dead at the scene shortly afterwards. The victims were later identified as Shai Nigreker, who was 60, and his son Aviad Nir, age 28, residents of Ashdod. The Israel Defense Forces had launched a manhunt for the assailant and closed off a number of roads in the area. They're still closed off. The terrorists did approach the car wash on foot, opened fire on the father and son, and then fled the scene on foot. Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad terror groups praised the attack, calling it heroic and a natural response to the crimes of occupation. All right, and now we are joined live by I-24 News correspondent who is live on the scene of where it happened. Let's go out to Pia Steckelbach, who is in Huwara. Hello, and thanks for joining us. Please start by telling us what the situation is on the ground, and can you see signs of the manhunt underway?
Good morning, Emily. We're standing here at the very car wash where yesterday's attack happened. This is where Shai Nigreker and his son Aviad Nir, 60 and 28 years old, were killed, shot at point blank. The Palestinian assailant apparently fled by foot. And you're right, Emily, the manhunt is still underway. There is quite some army presence here in Huwara, but more so we are being told that the roads leading up to Huwara and also leading to the neighboring Palestinian villages such as Beitar, Nablus is also not far away from here, are closed off as the active manhunt is underway. Now, we do know, as you can see here, soldiers stationed here on the main road. Huwara has become a flashpoint for attacks, and its location is strategic. Nablus, the major Palestinian city in the northern West Bank, is only about 8 kilometers away. And this is a road, the road you can see here next to me. It is used by both settlers. There are lots of settlements surrounding Huwara here, and also Palestinians from the area. Now, what we know about the two victims from yesterday is that they reportedly came from the city of Ashdod in southern Israel. They came here to run some errands, such as getting their AC fixed and also getting their car washed, and this is not something extraordinary. We had the chance to speak to some residents here, and they told us that it is a regular thing that people also from inside Israel come here, settlers too, but less so after the situation in the West Bank has become more tense with a rise in Palestinian attacks and also settler attacks here in this region. So it is still, or it has been up until now at least, a regular occurrence that people from inside Israel come here as prices are significantly lower. Now, the army has boosted up its presence here, not only the army but also the Israeli border police. First of all, of course, because the manhunt for the Palestinian assailant is still underway, but also to prevent possible copycat attacks, but also to prevent possible revenge attacks from settlers. I want to remind you, Emily, in February there has been a Palestinian attack also here in Huwara where two brothers, Israeli brothers, were killed, and the night after settlers from the nearby settlements here descended and went on a rampage here, torching houses where you can still see the signs of it. And this is what also the army has been trying or managed to prevent this night. But we were speaking to residents here and to supermarket owners and to workers here on the nearby construction site, and they're all quite concerned as fear is high after a day like yesterday. Fear that settlers might again conduct a revenge attack, but also that more attacks will occur, and this is hurting really also businesses here, but also residents who just live in fear here.
Pia, thank you very much for that comprehensive report. We are now being joined live via Zoom by Colonel Retired Dr. Michael Milstein, the head of the Palestinian Studies Forum at the Moshe Dayan Center for Middle Eastern and African Studies, and also former advisor and coordinator of government activities for COGAT. Thank you for joining us. And with the manhunt still going on, you know, what do you know from your sources as far as this attacker? Was it a lone attacker? Was he helped? Did somebody tip him off? Because we know this father and son, you know, just happened to stop there to apparently just do repairs and whatnot.
Well, good morning, Emily. Well, actually, till now, most of the data, the information about the terror attack is not very clear, is unknown. And I assess, I don't know, I assess that this kind of terror attack is not very different from the terror attack that took place in Samaria area, even in Huwara itself and in the whole West Bank during the last year. I mean, a lot of terror attacks that are being committed by individuals or very small cells, very small groups, not necessarily affiliated with other organizations such as Hamas or the Islamic Jihad. And I think, Emily, that actually this is a reflection of the main security challenge that faces in front of Israel. I mean, ongoing terror, ongoing terror attacks that are not necessarily affiliated or connected to institutionalized organizations. And unfortunately, it seems that this is not the end of this phenomenon, and that are many other threats that are going to be committed even very soon.
So with that said, I mean, we know in this particular case, the IDF is on high alert for more attacks, like you said, and even potential revenge attacks from, Israeli settlers. Besides that, like, what would make somebody, want to go into that area knowing that obviously there's a lot of conflict, there's a lot of tension just in the whole country right now for obvious reasons. I mean, what is your, advice to people that may want to stop and go to the car wash?
Well, unfortunately, Emily, this point is very correct and very sharp, and I cannot get into the minds of people who decide to go to such villages, like Huwara, which is, of course, affiliated with terror attacks, and decide to have shopping or other issues over there. I think that it is necessary that a lot of Israeli citizens will not get into those areas with no, security shell or military company. And I think that this is a reflection of another deep problem regarding the situation in the Palestinian arena, and that there is a physical barrier, physical buffer between the two communities. And maybe this is the source of many problems. The two communities are mixed with each other. And this, the result of this situation, of course, is a lot of violent clashes. And I think, it's another matter. It's a more strategic and deeper matter, the question of the future of the relations between Israel and the Palestinians. That as long as the contact, the ongoing daily contact between the two communities will be like today, of course, we should expect that there will be a lot of violent clashes. And I think that we should, the leadership and the public, we should start thinking about the future of the relations between the two communities, and mainly think about buffer or any even border between us, because otherwise it seems that the current or the last attack won't be, unfortunately, the last attack or the last terror attack in the West Bank. Right.
We're about to go to break. I mean, do you feel that this could get worse before it gets better?
Well, unfortunately, yes. It also regards or depends on the Palestinian internal arena. And right now, we're speaking about lack of sovereignty of the PA in many areas in the West Bank.
Colonel Milstein, I'm sorry to cut you off. Colonel Milstein, we have to take a break, but thank you very much for your insight. Always appreciated. We're going to be back with more continuing coverage of their terror attack on a father and son in Huwara. Stay with us. Welcome back to the I-24 News Desk, where we are still covering yesterday's terror attack in Huwara, which left an Israeli father and son dead, and the manhunt for the attacker is still ongoing. He fled the scene on foot, and the manhunt is still underway. We are now joined live by Colonel Reserve Alon Eviatar, Palestinian affairs expert and former COGAT advisor, and we're also joined by I-24 News Senior Correspondent Owen Alterman here in the studio. Owen, thank you for being here as well. Let's start with, first, let's talk about what what do you have to say from your perspective, Colonel, about this? The fact the manhunt is underway. There are organizations praising it. No one has claimed responsibility for it. What kind of existential threat are we looking at right now?
Well, actually, we're in the middle of, I would say, operative actions by the IDF and the Israeli agencies, the Shabak. The forces with the special units are looking for the terrorist, and sooner or later they will catch him or kill him in his village or in his town. And I think it's a matter of time. I can assume that during this day, with all the intelligence elements and so on, they will catch him. But let's speak about the phenomena or the trend, the terror violence. I think that during the last months, Huwara village became as a Palestinian symbol, if you want, an attractive place, attractive site for the Palestinian terrorists. They prefer to do their terror attacks inside Huwara. Huwara became a famous place all over the north of, in the area of north of the West Bank. And I think that this terror attack, which I would say different from the previous terror attacks over there, this terror attack should be kind of a red line or alarm for the Israeli residents which cross the village and the area that they should not shopping and the medical treatment and fix their cars.
Not a good idea.
In the Palestinian shops and so on. It's not a good idea.
More than not a good idea.
There is a kind of personal responsibility also.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
I want to switch.
It's a bad idea, and
yeah, go ahead.
Then I think that there is, despite the efforts which taken by the Israeli forces over there 24/7 to prevent terror attacks and to decrease the friction between the Palestinians and the Jews over there, I think that there is a, I would say, importance of
right. You're breaking
responsibility of each one.
All right, we're going to get back to you in a second. We have Owen Alterman here in the studio. Let's talk a little bit about, we have Smotrich, the finance minister, speaking up, making a bad situation seemingly worse. He's calling on the military to go on the offensive, more settlement construction, all of this. What do you have to say not only about the situation, but, you've been covering the protests, everything about the timing of such a statement?
Well, we'll start with Bezalel Smotrich, Emily. I mean, to be fair, first of all, calls for stronger military responses after terror attacks and calls for more settlement construction after terror attacks are part of the mainstream right-wing set of views here in Israel. It's not necessarily far-right positions in and of themselves. So it's true, Smotrich is more associated with the far right, but these particular statements, as has to be said, are more part of the mainstream right. Meaning, I think that if you were to ask Likud politicians, they would agree in big picture terms with what Bezalel Smotrich said. Of course, there's also this report that Smotrich wants to legalize 155 illegal outposts across the West Bank. That's already beyond what has been mainstream right-wing opinion and certainly policy here in Israel. Can only imagine the reaction in Washington to something like that.
Right.
One would expect that would not happen for that reason.
Of course. And what do you think? I mean, what the response from the Palestinian Authority to this? I mean, we've heard other people, praising it. It's heroic, but there's more even politics within the politics of the different organizations within, those communities.
Yeah, look, the Palestinian Education Ministry, for one thing, Emily, reportedly closing the schools in Huwara today because of concern about violence from settlers in the area and because of the tensions. Well, we hope the kids will get back to school tomorrow. Look, obviously the Palestinian authorities in the crosshairs of the right here in Israel. We have Channel 14 is reporting that the head of the Samaria Regional Council, for example, has put out a quote this morning saying that Mahmoud Abbas is a terrorist in a suit. Right, and that I think it expresses the way that people in that part of Israel's political spectrum view the Palestinian Authority. What are their arguments looking at the educational curriculum and what they see, and others frankly see, as incitement to terrorism there. On the other hand, I do think if you take the wider picture of the 20 years that Mahmoud Abbas has been in power, I think it's hard to argue that he has not been a restraining force on terrorism and on extremism, not as much as I think people in Israel would like, but this is the most underappreciated and taken for granted person in the entire Middle East. At some point, he will no longer be with us. There will be some successor, and I think only at that point will people understand and start to appreciate what we had here in Israel in terms of a partner, so to speak, in the Palestinian Authority. Again, not that he is a supporter of the state of Israel or Zionist, far from it. Not that all of his policies are perfect, certainly in the educational curriculum, far from it. But given the alternatives, the idea that there is a better alternative realistically to Mahmoud Abbas, I think is quite unlikely.
Okay, Owen, thank you. One more question to you, Colonel Eviatar. How could we, you've been in this space a long time. I mean, is there any hope even within the community of encouraging people to, try to keep things a little bit more calm? Because obviously nobody wants settlers going on revenge attacks. I mean, it's bad for everybody.
Well, actually, I can agree that while we are speaking about and analyze the situation of or the stability or the position of the PA security forces and the PA, I would say, policy, I think what we see is what we get, not less and not more. But I think as long as we don't have any better alternative, Israel should keep, consider, and cooperate with the PA apparatuses in order to decrease the violence over there and to decrease the incitement, which is 24/7 in our sites and media, and every Palestinian support most of the Palestinians support the armed struggle, or I would say the policy of the terror organizations. And I think we should back also to the last, I would say, statement of Netanyahu, of the prime minister, which said that the main Israeli interest is to keep the stability, the political stability, and the economic stability of the PA. It means that we should continue fight the terror with all the means, with all the instruments in all over the West Bank, prevent the budget, prevent any I would say attempt for another terror attack. But on the same time, Israel should keep the stability of the PA, which means, for example, improve the daily life of those Palestinian residents in the West Bank, improve the infrastructure in the West Bank, roads and factories and so on. It means that on the same time, without any, I would say, difference of the policy, without stop this policy, I mean continue fight the terror and continue try to improve the daily life of the Palestinians over there, and try to separate as much as we can, separate between the Palestinians and the Jews residents over there, because I think that the tension between the two those groups is so high that we cannot change dramatically the situation, just try to separate. It means that Israel should allow, or the policy of the Israeli government should stop as much as we can.
Colonel Eviatar, we have to go, but thank you very, very much for your insight as always.